Thank you all for being here today and welcome. That was so easy, just 2 good mornings and it was just perfectly lined. So thank you. Today is very special to us and I'm sure it's special to all of you as well. Because why else would you be here if it wasn't a special day, right? The 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And a lot of us were around way before that even happened. So happy to see so much progress. So my name is Mary Lazare, and I'm the Acting Administrator and Assistant Secretary for Aging at the Administration for Community Living. And it is an honor, truly an honor for me to be here with so many of my wonderful colleagues. We are going to have a tremendous morning, I should say, this morning. You are really going to be awed by some of these fabulous speakers that will be sharing their stories with us today. I want to welcome all of you to our celebration as well. So, whoops, we just got in place here. I'm joined on stage by Christy Hill. Christy is the director of the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. All that can easily be said as NIDLR. We're also joined by different former grantees, I guess, Christy, is that right? I hope that if you haven't spent time meeting with these people at these different exhibit tables, that you will take the time afterwards. They'll be set up for a while afterwards as well. Very, very interesting stories of how initially they started out as grantees and what tremendous product and services have evolved as a result of the seed grants started by NIDLR some years ago. As well, I want to thank all of those who have come here. We have a great audience. We have researchers, we have advocates, we have stakeholders in the aging and disability community. We have federal employees, leaders of organizations, and we have leadership from other federal departments as well. So we thank all of you for being here today and celebrating with us. Thank you as well to the exhibitors who have come today and share your products and services. I want to thank all the team at ACL, but in particular, Jennifer Johnson. Could you just stand for a moment, Jennifer? Please acknowledge Jennifer. Her leadership and coordination and facilitation, she's been eating, breathing, sleeping this event for the last several weeks. And Jennifer, we all appreciate your leadership on this. Thank you very much. So this coming together started many years ago. I think it was 1990. We have our esteemed guest from the National Council on Disability. Before ADA was passed, maybe 4 years before, 39 years ago, I think, NCD, the National Council on Disability, was urging and pushing for an Americans with Disabilities Act. And then what was monumental is 4 years later, so 35 years ago in March, no, that was March of 1990, now that I get my date straight, the famous Capitol crawl happened. I was around for that, not here, but I saw that on the news. And on that day, men, women, and children in wheelchairs made their way to the Capitol. And then they got out of their wheelchairs and made their way up the steps, crawling up the Capitol steps to demonstrate to all the obstacles to people with disabilities simply to access a building that the rest of American citizens and visitors and tourists from all over the world could easily access. So they demonstrated for all just one of the many barriers that they would experience. And then that same year, that bill was signed. And so here we are all these years later with tremendous access tremendous opportunity, and yet more to accomplish. It's not all finished yet. There's more to be done, and we're excited today to at least celebrate what has been accomplished and then to acknowledge, hey, what can we do together to move the needle and address even more, to create more opportunity, remove more obstacles and more barriers. And we know it can be done. So let's cherish this. You know, when you have an anniversary, people bring gifts, right? So we have some very special gifts for you today. We have some tremendous speakers who will share not only their gifts, but bring to life the meaning and the value and the impact of the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's our gift today. And so what I'd like to do now is introduce our very first speaker. Our very first speaker is Jordan Zimmerman. And Jordan is a lady who has a lot of things to be proud of. She is a non-speaking autistic woman who did not have access to augmentative communication until she was 18 years old. She is the manager of education products and program design at the Center for Enriched Living. She is also board chair of a national not-for-profit organization called Communication First. Recently named to Forbes 100 list as a top accessibility innovator, she also has a bachelor's in education, not finished yet, a master's in education from Boston College, not finished yet, and a master's of business administration from the Quantic School of Business and Technology. I don't know if she's finished yet, but I would like her to begin. And Jordan Zimmerman, everyone, please welcome Jordan to come to the stage and share her story. Oh, he's listening. Don't worry, he's listening. Well, do you want to start? Let's start. There you go. Is that your cord? Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan Zimmerman. Thank you to Acting Administrator Lazare for inviting me here today. For visual access, I am a white woman with brown hair. I'm wearing a black jumpsuit and tan blazer. I communicate by typing letter by letter on iPad, which then speaks my words aloud. While I have pre-typed my words out for today, in day-to-day interactions, there are many pauses, as it takes me time to express myself. During my brief remarks, I want to highlight how vital the Americans with Disabilities Act is for ensuring Americans' access to education, employment, opportunity, and community. I will do this by mostly sharing my own experience as a non-speaking autistic person. I grew up and continue to live in Ohio, in a small town between Akron and Cleveland. When my non-disabled older brother grew up, he thrived in our community. As I grew up, my parents naturally expected the same opportunities. But instead, I was called severely autistic, and was set apart, separated, and not given the chance to flourish at the same experiences my brother had. When Congress passed the ADA, it was a landmark promise, saying people with disabilities must not be unjustifiably isolated. It was a bipartisan commitment, led in part by Orrin Hatch, Bob Dole, and Steve Bartlett. The ADA was signed by President Bush more than 5 years before I was born, and a full decade before I started kindergarten. And yet, even then, the world didn't seem to believe those rights of access and opportunity applied to me. Because I could not reliably speak, and had what others called challenging behaviors, people said I did not belong. They thought I should be kept apart. But under the ADA, I had the right to be a part of my local community. While effective communication was a need, the ability to speak should never determine the right to participate. And yet, that is where my access seemed to get stuck. As I grew, I developed a few spoken words, of course not, and some other repetitive phrases, but the process of producing those words was difficult. It wasn't that I was lazy, socially disengaged, or anything else. It was simply that speech was, and is, a motor movement, and my body had to work extra hard to think about the process of producing each word. Under the ADA, I had the right to effective communication, but when speech is limited, and no other way is offered, that right does not fully exist. So even when I was able to speak those few words, I had no way to convey what I needed, and what I was really thinking. By the time I was a teenager, the medical needs, behaviors, and dysregulation I experienced, most often, my body's misaligned response to external input, made it seemingly difficult for me to go into the community without the tools and supports I should have had. I had been sent to multiple specialized schools for autistic and disabled students, none of which could adequately support me. Without access to the effective communication I needed, I communicated in the only way I could, by banging my head, slamming my body into furniture and walls, and spitting. I was restrained on a daily basis, over hundreds of times. When I was unable to attend school due to the support I needed, my mom left her career behind to care for me and advocate for my rights. This is one example why, as we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the ADA, if we truly believe in people with disabilities, we must strengthen the infrastructure that makes access and opportunity possible. In high school, I received an IQ score indicating an intellectual disability. While there is nothing shameful about a low IQ score, even with the ADA, the assumptions led to limited opportunity and access. My days were spent putting name cards in alphabetical order, matching numbers, and putting clothes on hangers. I frequently ran out of buildings, and was even restrained with the use of handcuffs. A professional said I was destroying the school and my family. Many people agreed, and told my parents they needed to send me away. This is another reason why, as we celebrate the progress today, the national conversation and actions must align to the values and spirit of the ADA. We must champion the resources, services, and tools that empower families and respect individuals. After a series of incidents, my mom asked the ACL-funded State Disability Protection and Advocacy Organization for help. They advocated for my rights within the ADA, including an assistive technology evaluation, the opportunity to learn more than remedial information, and to be meaningfully included. After years of not having the right to effectively communicate, I finally gained access to communication via iPad when I was 18, almost 19 years old. Additionally, for the first time, I was fully included in a school community, equally participating in learning and making friends. Running was also essential in this, helping me realign my body with the input I experienced, so I could more readily regulate. Once I had the tools and supports I needed, I thrived in my community. It was very hard, but it was also that simple. People can do great things when given the access, opportunity, and supports we need. At the age of 21, I graduated with a high school diploma, and in the fall, I began my college journey at Ohio University, something that was never thought to be possible. I really enjoyed college, but my actions and mannerisms were constantly judged against a different standard. Still, I persevered, and thanks to the ADA, the environment was adapted to my needs, including changing auditory fire alarms to vibrating notifications, and providing keyless entries for equal access. After 4 energizing years, I graduated with a bachelor's in education policy. In August of 2020, I enrolled in a Master's of Education program at Boston College. In my final semester, I student taught high schoolers in a separate environment within the Boston Public Schools. In many cases, students in the class, between the ages of 13 and 15, were still trying to gain meaningful access to effective communication. The ADA must continue to meet these needs, not just by ensuring physical access, but by protecting and enforcing the right to communication as an activity of daily living and equal participation in life. Today, I work a full-time job, currently managing education product and program development for a nonprofit. I am also a frequent presenter and consultant. The ADA and countless advocacy has made this all possible. As we celebrate so much, we must also make sure everyone who wants to work has the opportunity, strengthening job training, working real jobs for real pay, and encouraging inclusive hiring practices. Much of my life has been made what it is today, because I am supported to live as part of the community. This does not mean there are not real barriers. I am frequently talked over, ignored, or assumed to not understand. But without the ADA, I would not even be here with all of you. We have much to celebrate, and still, so much to do. One of the clearest ways we can see the ADA's vision upheld, or undermined, is by how we choose to support people, and the right to live in community. Accessible and assistive technology, the protection and advocacy system, home and community-based services, and community support, all enable Americans to access education, care, employment, and each other. We must strengthen solutions that support and respect family caregivers, and enable people with disabilities to live, work, and flourish in our own communities. The Americans with Disabilities Act certainly makes my life, and the lives of so many others, possible. Not because I earned it. Not because I fit in easily. But because I am a person. It sets the floor, though, it is the minimum, and we all have the opportunity and responsibility to show up and do so much more to make the American dream possible for everyone. As we celebrate 35 years of the ADA, let's remember the fundamental inherent value of every human being, regardless of needs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Jordan, for that powerful personal reflection and also your perspectives on the importance of collective action and accessibility as we think about the long legacy of the ADA. We'll now turn to our federal colleagues. We will next hear from Paula Stannard. She's the director of the Office of Civil Rights. In this role, Paula is the department's chief officer and advisor to Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. concerning the implementation, compliance, and enforcement of federal civil rights, conscience and religious freedom laws in HHS's jurisdiction, as well as federal health, information privacy, security, and breach notification rules under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA. Prior to becoming the director of the Office of Civil Rights, Paula served as the chief legal counsel of the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, where she led the Office of Legal Affairs. In this capacity, she advised and represented the state agency and its components on a wide range of significant legal issues pertaining to the laws the agency is responsible for implementing and the programs it operates. Paula's previous federal service includes her role as a senior counselor and advisor to former HHS Secretaries Tom Price and Alex Azar during the first Trump administration, and serving as acting general counsel and deputy general counsel during the George W. Bush administration. Her public service is complemented by over 16 years of legal experience in private practice, 6 years with counsel in the healthcare practice group at Alston and Bird and in Washington, D.C., and 10 years as litigation associate in Chicago. Paula is a graduate of Amherst College and Stanford Law. We are honored to have her join us, and we look forward to her remarks.
Good morning. My name is Paula Stannard, as you heard. I am the director of the Office for Civil Rights at HHS. For visualization purposes, I'm a woman. I'm wearing a black suit with a light blue blouse. It is an honor to join today's commemoration of the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA is one of our most important and consequential civil rights laws, affirming that every individual has dignity and inherent value and should be given the opportunity to live fully and freely in the community if they so choose. OCR enforces several federal disability rights laws, including Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. We are also responsible for enforcing Title II of the ADA with respect to health and human services provided by state and local governments. For over 30 years, OCR has enforced these protections for hundreds of thousands of Americans with disabilities in every state in the nation and across a broad range of issues, including ensuring physical access to medical facilities and treatment, requiring effective communication between providers and patients, removing discriminatory practices in child welfare, foster care and adoption, and confronting unnecessary institutionalization under the ADA's integration mandate. In this administration alone, OCR has resolved more than 115 disability-related complaints under Title II and Section 504. These matters span the country and address real, day-to-day barriers faced by people with disabilities. OCR's work over the past 6 months alone has resulted in 3 formal settlements under the ADA and active monitoring of a recent consent decree in Rhode Island to prevent the unnecessary institutionalization of children. OCR's enforcement efforts ensures that people with disabilities can access health care services and essential supports without experiencing unlawful barriers, thus helping make America healthy again. OCR will continue to enforce these protections through meaningful access, grounded in the law, and focused on restoring and protecting liberty, dignity, and access. One case that brings this work into sharp focus is our recent settlement involving Alexis Radcliffe, whom you will hear from in a few minutes. Alexis was in an accident as a toddler that left her quadriplegic and dependent on a ventilator. She recovered and thrived living with her grandfather, but when she was 13 years old, he became ill and could no longer support her. She became a ward of the state of North Carolina and was placed in a hospital. This hospitalization was only supposed to be a temporary placement because there was no medical necessity for her to live in a hospital. But she remained in that hospital for 7 years. During that time, Alexis attended school remotely, graduated high school with honors, and earned a full scholarship to a local college, a clear indication that her placement did not reflect her potential or drive. At age 18, the hospital prepared to send her to an out-of-state nursing facility. But Alexis wanted to come home. She wanted to attend college, live in her community, and shape her own future. Alexis worked with Disability Rights North Carolina, which is an ACL grantee to file a complaint with us against North Carolina. We worked closely with the state, the hospital, Alexis, and Disability Rights North Carolina to resolve her complaint and secure her rights. As part of that process, we brought in CMS, which was helpful in supporting North Carolina with available funding sources, including Money Follows a Person, for Alexis to move from unnecessary and costly hospitalization to an apartment in the community. The resolution agreement with North Carolina coincided with the recent anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Olmstead versus LC, a fitting reminder that everyone has the right to live with self-determination. Alexis returned to her community the week that we celebrated Independence Day, making it a long overdue recognition of her right to live freely and independently. Federal disability rights laws require that Alexis be served in the most integrated setting appropriate to her needs, and OCR's intervention ensured that outcome. Under my leadership, OCR remains committed to ensuring individuals with disabilities are fully protected under federal civil rights laws, including the ADA. Alexis could not join us today in person, but she recorded a message reflecting on her journey and what this transition means to her. I had the privilege of speaking to her right before she moved out of the hospital and into her own apartment. As you will see, she is thriving in the community. Immediately following this video, we will be joined by Alexis live. So please join me in hearing Alexis's story.
Disabilities doesn't define you. There might be, yes, I have a physical difference, but I do everything that you do, just different ways. Hi, my name's Alexis. I am about 320. When I was 2.5, my spinal cord got cut in half. In the hospital for 6 months. Lived with my grandfather from 2.5 till I was 13. I got lung cancer and stroke, and then I came to the hospital. I lived in the hospital for 6 years. I spent all my teenage years in the hospital, and now I live in my own apartment.
Alexis is human, and she wants to be part of the community. She deserves happiness. She deserves a life where she can flourish, and being in her own home, she can do that. My name's Matt Graham. I am the coordinated caregiver for Alexis Radcliffe.
You want a mushroom?
Yeah. It feels amazing to be able to have my own apartment, to have my own space, just to be independent and not have to worry about being in a hospital and just staying in one room. I was at the hospital for 6 years and they wanted me out. They said they needed the bed. And they didn't want me to have a say-so. That's why they sued me. They didn't want me to have a say. They wanted where they wanted to put me, and that was it. So I said no. We filed a complaint with HHS, Office of Civil Rights. And then they called Disability Rights of North Carolina. And it was like, hey, we want to help. And they did. And they helped a lot. And in the end, we won and they lost.
HHS and the Office of Civil Rights had everything to do with her getting this home, and they have been magical for her. They've made her a life that she would not have had.
Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm a typical 20-year-old. I make TikToks.
Damn!
And I went to the Big Time Rush concert, and I was screaming and singing at the top of my lungs, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm actually here. I feel like sometimes we just get shut out, and I want to be open, and I want to be in the community, and that's what the ultimate goal is. If you want to be in the community, you have every right to be.
She just wants to be involved, and I hope people will let her be involved. It will take her and the community forward.
My dreams and aspirations are law school, work, hopefully go into politics, and just make the world a better place for me and for disabilities. I would tell Secretary Kennedy, and Office of Civil Rights. Thank you. Everybody should live the life that they want to live. Nobody should decide that for them.
Hi, Alexis. We're glad you're able to join us today virtually. We'd like to hear from you now. We're having a few technical difficulties, so just a moment.
Alexis, I don't know if your audio is on. Check your, she's not muted?
But it does look like her.
Do you have a cell phone with you there? We can try that. In the meantime, I did have a nice conversation with Alexis on Friday, I believe, right, Jennifer? We were all in here Friday afternoon. I will share with you that while we're there getting her connected, Saturday is an important birthday coming up. Am I right, Alexis? The birthday's coming up. She's been to a concert. I asked her, what other concerts are coming up? I think there were 2 or so. Jonas Brothers is coming up. Shake your head if I'm correct, Alexis. The Jonas Brothers concert was coming up. So believe me, she is definitely out of the hospital and in that community and spreading her joy and her contributions all around. So we'll continue to try to get that connection, Alexis. But she also shared with us that she is more than grateful to Paula and team for all the work that they had put into this. And let me share with you, let's call this a commercial break while we're waiting for this technical thing to get fixed. And the commercial break is this. Last night I got canceled on my trip to get back here from St. Louis. So within 10 minutes of getting canceled, my husband and I got in the car and started driving and arrived here this morning at 7:30 a.m. In the meantime, since I've been up on stage, I forgot, because, you know, the fog is starting to lift, I forgot to say something. Robin Sue and Mordecai and Anthony from OCR, can you guys stand for a quick second? Because they were so instrumental in getting all of this together. The tribute from Paula, Alexis, Anthony, thank you. Mordecai, thank you so much for what you did to bring this together. And we got her. Okay, see, commercial is over. Okay, Alexis, go for it.
Can you hear me? Yes. You can hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis Ratcliffe. I am 19 years old, about to be 20 in 5 days. And I am a trach and neck clot for visual appearance. A blue dress in my wheelchair in my room, which has the walls. I just want to say I am so thankful to be a part of the ADA and this really means a lot to me. That not just me, but other disabilities can live the life that they want to live. Because it's the most important is they all should be able to live the life they want to live. And I want to thank Disability Rights, Solutions for Independence, Dedicated North Carolina, and Office of Civil Rights for getting me into the, you know, sometimes it takes a village, but that's what it is. It's all about working together as a team. You can't do this alone, and I'm not going to do this one alone. So I'm just really thankful that I do have such great team and hopefully we can help more people, kids in the community, and get no needs are too much to be met. And I think that's what really represents. I think that's what the ADA stands for. I especially want to thank the parent program through Disability Rights. That's what helped get me out of the hospital. And follows the person, which is a Medicaid funded program as well, that transitions with hospital facility living into the community. And so I'm just really excited to be here and thankful to be here. And this is such a great experience, and all the other speakers are really an inspiration to me as well. A lot of this is a new world for me, and I'm learning so much from new people and their stories, and It's just a really beautiful thing. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Alexis, for joining us today. We're glad that you were able to live in your community and are able to pursue your dreams. As Mary mentioned, your 20th birthday is coming up this weekend, so happy birthday. We wish you all the best in your new home this coming year. And now it is my honor to introduce Jesus Osete. He is the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Civil Rights Division at the United States Department of Justice. In this role, he oversees the division's various components, including the Disability Rights Section, which is also charged with enforcing the Americans with Disabilities Act. Before joining DOJ, Jesus was an accomplished trial and appellate litigator in the private sector. He also served his home state of Missouri in various positions, including Deputy Attorney General and General Counsel to the Missouri Secretary of State. Jesus received his law degree from Washington University in St. Louis. After law school, he clerked on both state and federal appellate courts of appeal. State and federal courts of appeal. Jesus, we are pleased that you were able to join us to celebrate the ADA's 35th anniversary. Welcome.
Boy, I feel like I'm in high school again, walking across the stage. Such a pleasure to be with you today. Good morning. Thank you for that kind introduction. I was asked to send a bio in, and you never know when you come to these things, how long they should be, so I hope it was short and sweet for you. I try to keep it to, 30 seconds or a minute or so, and there's some events where they go into everything I did in high school and stuff that I did, in the private sector, and I just think it's unnecessary, so I appreciate very much the introduction. On behalf of Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Due to her travel schedule, AAG Dillon unfortunately could not be here today, but she wanted me to reaffirm to you what she said on Saturday, that she is dedicated to defending the rights of all Americans, especially those with disabilities. I'm honored to stand before you today as we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA is a historic piece of legislation that transformed the face of civil rights for Americans with disabilities. Indeed, when President Bush signed the ADA into law, he called it a, quote, historic new civil rights act. Legally, he said the ADA will provide Americans with disabilities with a powerful expansion of protections and then basic civil rights. By codifying anti-discrimination principles into the ADA, President Bush explained, Congress brought our country, quote, closer to that day when no American will ever again be deprived of their basic guarantee of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Since the ADA became law more than 3 decades ago, it has supported the full panoply of rights for millions of Americans living with disabilities in everyday life. Under the leadership of Attorney General Bondi and AAG Dillon, the Department of Justice continues to make extraordinary strides to remove obstacles standing in the way of those with disabilities so that they can lead healthy, self-sufficient, and independent lives. This is done in part through the tireless work of the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Through mediation, technical assistance, outreach, and enforcement, the Civil Rights Division is continuously advancing the rights of Americans with disabilities to access all this great nation has to offer. Our work spans the vast range that the ADA covers. This includes virtually all aspects of American lives, addressing discrimination at work, in schools and universities, in movie theaters, in restaurants, on public transportation, on sidewalks and streets, and in voting booths. Enforcement of the ADA has been pivotal to removing these barriers. Let me share with you just some recent successes the department has had with removing barriers from Americans with disabilities, for Americans with disabilities. First, in June of this year, we won a landmark decision against a state that, according to a federal judge, was unnecessarily institutionalizing thousands of individuals with disabilities in nursing facilities and was denying them specialized services required by federal law. We look forward to a final resolution in short order. Second, and in the same month, we also successfully concluded our work enforcing a game-changing agreement with the state of New York. The agreement addressed the discriminatory segregation of adults with mental illness in adult care homes. Now, due to our efforts, adults with mental illness who once relied on adult care homes can instead get intensive mental health services paired with assistance to stay housed, helping them stay healthy and contribute to their communities. Third, and on July 3rd, we reached a settlement with the Montcalm, Michigan area intermediate school district to address the unlawful and discriminatory use of seclusion and restraint policies on students with disabilities at school. Our investigation found that the school district routinely used seclusion and restraint improperly against students with disabilities, including in ways that increase the risk of harm to students or as punishment for minor classroom discipline issues. Under the settlement, the school district will no longer seclude students and will only restrain students in an emergency. As a result of the settlement, children with disabilities in the school district will receive the support and services they not only deserve, but they need to enjoy the same educational opportunities as their peers. Although these are just a few examples of our extensive portfolio, they demonstrate our unequivocal dedication to defending the rights of all Americans with disabilities. I believe the law enforcement responsibility that falls on the Civil Rights Division is integral to the ADA's success in ensuring that no American is unlawfully deprived of their liberty. In short, the rule of law is the best friend that liberty ever had. So today we don't just celebrate a law. We don't just celebrate the ADA. We celebrate results. We celebrate every individual who has advocated for the civil rights of all Americans. And on this 35th anniversary, we renew our commitment to empowering Americans with disabilities through the ADA so that they too may achieve the American dream. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, wow, just what a moving story that was from Alexis. It's a story of persistence and advocacy that we can all really aspire to. And to our federal partners, please know that we do appreciate your leadership, your partnership, and your action. You remind us that civil rights enforcement has been and will continue to be a cornerstone of progress for the ADA. Our next speaker is one of ACL's own, Henley Williams. She's a program specialist at the Administration for Community Living. As a person who's blind, Henley brings both a professional and a personal lens to the ADA's enduring impact. In her role, Henley supports independent living programs through compliance monitoring, providing technical assistance, and developing reports and guidance documents to increase program quality. Prior to her work as a civil servant, Henley worked in the nonprofit sector for 7 years, where she ran programs that supported integrated living and promoted independence for people with disabilities. Let's welcome Henley.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a joy to be here with you all today, and thank you for joining us to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. My name is Henley Williams, and I am a program analyst in the Office of Independent Living Programs within the Administration for Community Living. As someone with multiple disabilities who was born into the post-ADA world, I've never known an America without this transformative legislation. My understanding of pre-ADA America comes only through the stories shared with me by mentors, colleagues, and friends who lived through the transition. I am told the world looks much different now than it did back then. I grew up in an America in which many of our communities have curb cuts, elevators, ramps, and braille signage. These changes point to the heart of why the ADA remains vital 35 years later: opportunity. If we can get through the front door, then there are opportunities. If we can sit in the college classroom and take notes on braille devices, then there are opportunities. If we have American Sign Language interpretation, then there are opportunities. When we have these accommodations in place, there are opportunities for success, excellence, and flourishing. The ADA allows America to benefit from a reservoir of talent that was previously untapped by businesses, agencies, and communities. My experience with the disability community has shown me that people with disabilities are among our finest problem solvers, coming up with solutions and workarounds that make us daily innovators. When we see opportunities, disabled people find ways to thrive, build meaningful lives, and discover our own definitions of joy. Today and every day, we get to celebrate the dignity of disabled bodies and the dignity of disabled minds. We get to celebrate the unique talents every individual has. Disabled students learn. Disabled entrepreneurs innovate. Disabled athletes compete. Disabled employees work. Disabled parents raise their children. America provides the opening, and disabled Americans are grabbing onto it to live our best lives. When I was in grade school, far before I understood what the ADA was and how it impacted my life, I was being countless opportunities to learn and grow. I placed my hands on orange plastic manipulatives in math class during counting and addition lessons. I explored our universe through touch, tracing my fingers along the contours of tactile images of constellations, diagrams of cells, and maps of the world. As I transitioned from school to college, I knew there were opportunities out there waiting for me because my disabled mentors had already blazed those trails, and they assured me they existed. I attended college at Villanova University and navigated my college experience alongside my peers. I was the president of a student group on campus that advocated for accessible spaces and celebrated disability as part of our shared human experience. Through my English and humanities majors, I traced my way through great American classics and discovered how America's magic lies in our collective reach for something, how together we build something meaningful with hands outstretched and eyes turned toward bright, luminous tomorrows. As part of the post-ADA generation, I was told that this nation would give me the chance to reach for something too, giving me the platform to help build our shared future, brick by brick. I began building America's local communities first through my nonprofit sector work. Now, I have the honor and privilege to be a civil servant. Last week, I had the privilege of attending the National Council on Independent Living annual conference. I got to hear from nonprofit organizations who receive grants from our office about all the great work they are doing to provide opportunities for disabled Americans. A Center for Independent Living in Tennessee provides over 100 ramps per year so that people with disabilities can live in their homes and avoid institutionalization. A Center for Independent Living in Missouri provides transportation in their rural community so that people with disabilities can live integrated, full lives. The Independent Living Network in Florida collaborates to minimize suffering and meet the needs of people with disabilities in the wake of devastating hurricanes. Every day, I have the privilege of amplifying this vital work and supporting these organizations with their missions. I am doing this as a person with disabilities myself, my workplace accommodations supporting me in making real, tangible impacts on the lives of everyday Americans. The ADA has enriched my life. I am grateful to live in a country that chose to say yes in 1990 to providing opportunities. I am grateful to have disabled mentors, colleagues, and friends. And when I see them find joy and fulfillment, I know that we as a nation are on the right path, even though we have yet to arrive at the destination. I am grateful to live in a country where every July brings us together to celebrate how far we've traveled and to envision how much further we can go. Thank you.
Again, Henley, thank you so much for your federal service and for your dedication to the ACL mission, and just for sharing your voice and perspectives on the experience on your experience under the ADA. Next, we'll hear from a representative from the National Council on Disability, an organization that has played a pivotal role in shaping and advancing disability policy for decades. The next speaker is Sean Kennemer, currently serving as the acting board chair of the National Council on Disability. He has a background in executive leadership and developing services and supports for people with disabilities. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Organizational Leadership from Fresno Pacific University. He's currently the president and CEO of Bakersfield ARC, that is leading change by becoming the first organization in Kern County that provides jobs and supports for people to become fully community-based. He has worked and led local nonprofit collaboration of executive directors to make all bus stops in the city of Bakersfield no parking zones. Over his 30 years of providing services to people with disabilities, Sean held positions at the executive level as well as provided direct service support. He's created over 15 new programs. Sean has been an advocate at the local, state, and national levels. He currently serves on the board of the Independent Living Center of Kern County and is a member of the Rotary Club of Bakersfield Downtown. Let's welcome Sean Kennemer.
I want to thank you for allowing me to be here to speak on behalf of the National Council on Disabilities, a federal agency within the United States government. Those are some very powerful stories that we've heard so far this morning. It just makes everything that we do to advance people with disabilities just that much greater. It gives us that much more motivation. So the National Council on Disabilities is an independent federal agency that is deeply entwined with the ADA. The National Council on Disabilities report in 1986, titled Towards Independency, recommended that Congress pass a comprehensive equal opportunity law and suggested that the title be the American with Disabilities Act. NCD drafted the first version of the ADA after its passage, and after its passage, NCD was tasked with Congress with new duties. These were to examine how well the government and private industries promote the goals of the ADA and to advise the President and Congress and fellow federal agencies on our findings. For 35 years, NCD has been the federal advisory on disability policy. During the past 3.5 decades, NCD's findings and recommendations have highlighted what is working well and areas where improvement is still needed. We have seen a lot of good results, although there are still many societal barriers that hold people with disabilities back from full equality. Being here to speak with you today at the Health and Human Services is a special honor because NCD has put a large focus on non-discriminatory health care for people with disabilities over the last 6 years. That focus led to the development of strong relationships and ties with talented people at the Health and Human Services who took our findings and recommendations on health care seriously. During President Trump's first administration, the National Council on Disabilities issued 5 reports on medical ethics on disability. We described how many people with disabilities were denied the opportunity to even be evaluated for organ transplants in many states. We also described how physicians use their own prejudices about the quality of life with people with disabilities and contributed to, that made decisions to stop care when care would not have been stopped for a person without a disability. We also included how inaccessible exam tables and weight scales in doctors' offices and health facilities resulted in people who use wheelchairs not getting proper examinations and not being weighed. Both the Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights and the Administration for Community Living paid attention to these reports and invited the National Council on Disability to HHS to discuss the persistent discrimination that people with disabilities were experiencing in healthcare. They understood the issues were real and sought ways to address the discriminatory practice. The relationship between the National Council on Disabilities and Health and Human Services has continued over the years. In 2022, after advisement on poor health outcomes and barriers to health care experienced by people with disabilities, Health and Human Services officially recognized people with disabilities as a health disparity population. This designation opened the door for more research with the goal of improving health care and health outcomes for people with disabilities. The issues around health care and disabilities are too many to discuss in a few minutes, but the ADA's mandate of equal opportunity and inclusion in all aspects of society, free from discrimination, are the foundation for this work, and we were thrilled and honored to work in that space every single day. We have heard a lot today about the Olmstead decision and the ADA's integration mandate. Hearing what it is like not to be able to live at home or in the community, or what it feels like when you finally have the supports in place to enable that to happen. How that can change a life for the better. Whether young or old, people with disabilities who want to live in the community should have the opportunity. And as we celebrate our victories today, it's important to recognize that our work on community living is not yet done. We continue to face national shortages on personal care attendants and healthcare workers. These individuals play a crucial role in community living, and we must find ways to attract and keep people in this profession to help support Olmstead state efforts. NCD is celebrating the 35th anniversary of the ADA by releasing a report on the current state of ground transportation for people with disabilities. 35 years after the ADA, we find that people with disabilities, particularly wheelchair users, do not have access to wheelchair accessible transportation in most of the nation. While their non-disabled peers can hail a cab or a ride share or catch a ride in a matter of minutes, many people with disabilities simply do not have the option if they need a ramp-equipped vehicle. They frequently have few to no options to get around when they want or need to. To fulfill the promise of the ADA, people with disabilities needs to be able to access transportation on par with the rest of society. That means transportation that allows them to live in the community, attend school, work, visit friends and family, or simply visit a park to get away. Things so many of us take for granted. We hope that the release of this report and NCD's recommendations to the government and private industries will increase accessibility transportation in every community so that more people with disabilities can experience the opportunity that transportation allows. Thank you again for making NCD a part of this wonderful celebration. I look forward to continuing our work to make the promise of the ADA a reality and continuing our relationships as friends and advisors to HHS. I also just, one last thing, I want to thank the staff of the National Council on Disability for all their hard work that they do every day that allow people, council members like me, to be able to come and do this. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We can't say enough about the National Council on Disability, the initiation, the advocacy, the commitment to advancing the work of the ADA and to just providing options and opportunities for people with disabilities. Next, we'll hear from Whit Downing. Whit serves as the Vice President of Policy and Programming for the ACL-funded Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities, the leading statewide organization representing Kansans with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Whit first joined the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities in early 2024 as a behavioral health specialist, and in November of that same year began leading its policy and programming as the Vice President. Whit is a proud autistic woman who lives with PTSD and has survived a suicide attempt. Whit's greatest passion is ensuring that neurodiverse people are always included in discussions around mental health and suicide prevention. In her role, Whit leads a number of initiatives related to the Council's advocacy agenda and systems change programs. As a subject matter expert, Whit regularly testifies before the Kansas legislature on key disability lifespan issues. She supports the Kansas Council's Health, Equity, and Outcomes Coalition's behavioral health portfolio. That work includes leading the We All Matter peer mental health support group, creating plain language resources and guides, and representing the Council on a number of statewide coalitions, boards, and committees. Prior to joining the Kansas Council, Whit trained and graduated from the HRSA-funded Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities, or LEND program. Whit serves on the board of directors for the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academies and recently finished her term as a board member of the Headquarters, Kansas. Whit's educational background includes 2 years of coursework at Washburn University and participation in the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academies Advanced Leadership Training, Faces of Change. We'll hear from Whit now.
Good morning, everyone. Just a visual description of me. I am a woman wearing a tan dress, a red blazer, a silver necklace, and glasses. I am honored to be here today, all the way from Topeka, Kansas, to recognize this important anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like you heard in my introduction, I am autistic, live with PTSD, and have survived a suicide attempt. Also, like you heard in my introduction, thank you, I am the Vice President of Policy and Programming at the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities. 35 years ago, the ADA told us, and people like me, you matter, you belong, you have rights. And for millions of us, that changed so much. But the ADA was not a finish line. For many people with physical disabilities, the passing of the ADA was an important goal, but it did not erase the barriers that still exist. And for people like me, people with invisible disabilities and complex support needs, and emotional scars that don't show up on paper, The passage of the ADA was an amazing starting point, a door opening new opportunities and possibilities. A little bit about me. I was autistic before I had the word for it. Sensitive, intense. Growing up and still now, I cried easily, felt deeply. The world is loud, lights are bright, people move fast, and so I learned to mask, to try to fix myself. I spent my entire childhood believing that I was broken, but I wasn't, and I'm still not. When I turned 18, it felt like the floor dropped out from beneath me, something that happens to a lot of us during this transition from high school to the community, often called the cliff. I struggled with major depression, couldn't find the right job or living situation, and the services I needed were not available to me. And naturally, I started to fall apart, into darkness. I was in the mental hospital more times than I can count or even remember. It's like I was screaming for help. At the same time, though, the world was telling me to be more independent, but no one gave me the tools that I needed to survive. I eventually got by on supplemental security income, or SSI, a housing voucher, and food stamps. I stayed in toxic places because I didn't have other options. It was hard because deep down, I knew I had potential, but potential doesn't make things happen, and dreams don't cover services, but I held on, and I'm really glad I did. Something shifted. After almost a decade of trying to find my place, I found the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities. DD councils, thanks in large part to HHS and Congress, advocate for and support individuals with developmental disabilities, families, and caregivers. This is important because every state's disability system is different. We work alongside state governments to ensure laws actually work for people like me. Like you heard in my introduction, at first I was working part-time because I was limited in how much I could work to stay on my benefits. Over time, though, I became something more, and I really proved myself worthy of this career path. I've become a leader, educating state lawmakers and decision makers day in and day out on disability. I am a person with a developmental disability making big changes to how things work from the inside out. I'm one of the only people in the country with a developmental disability doing this work full-time on a state council. And that matters. And not because it makes me special, but because it shows what is possible. Representation matters. Hiring people with disabilities to lead is inclusion. And I'm not a token. I am a trailblazer. When I accepted this position and went full-time last November, I knew that I'd be walking away from my benefits, and I was terrified. Because for most of my life, those supports are what kept me afloat. But while I lost some services, I gained so much more. I gained purpose, a career, a chosen family who has been instrumental in my life and in my successes. I gained the ability to earn money to do things I enjoy and save, using my ABLE account, for things that improve my life, like moving into a better community. And I gained the ability to dream bigger than I ever thought I could. Through work, I've gained a team that refused to let me do any of this alone. My bosses at KCDD, Sarah Hart-Weir and Allison McCain, didn't just hand me a job. They've helped change the entire trajectory of my life. They've walked with me through every part of my transition. They have helped me navigate the loss of benefits. They've sat with me during the hard decisions. They built a team that is inclusive, with peers who have disabilities and understand me. And together, we've built something that I've never had before, my dream team. My dream team is the network of person-centered supports that help me succeed at work, at home, and in the community. It's the kind of support plan that I wish every person with a disability had. All of this, you all, and it still doesn't mean I don't struggle. Just 2 Sundays ago, I was on the phone with a 988 crisis counselor for 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 56 seconds. You see, I still rely on those same services that I am working to make better for everyone else, especially people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Sarah and Allison saw my potential and they asked, how do we support Wit? Not how do we limit her? They showed me that believing in someone isn't enough. You have to back that belief with action. Because of this, I am not just surviving, I am thriving. I'm building a life that reflects who I really am with purpose. I get to show up every day in my life fully, authentically, as Wit. And that's the kind of freedom I never thought I would feel. You heard a little bit earlier, but in my role, I regularly testify before our legislator at the Capitol in Kansas. I work with 11 different state agencies, breaking down silos and making programs like VOC Rehab and IDD waiver services actually work for people like me. I am a grant co-researcher and lead We All Matter, a peer mental health support group by and for people with disabilities. And every time I do this work, I'm reminded this is not just about a paycheck. It's about changing lives, including my own. And as we think about building a better future after these 35 years, I am here to challenge us to think bigger, bolder, and not settle for the status quo. We must fix the benefit cliffs and not confine us to lifetimes of poverty. We must make benefits portable and consistent state to state. Let's expand private sector tools like ABLE accounts. We must stop treating people with disabilities as tax takers and start recognizing us as the taxpayers, workers, and entrepreneurs that we want to be. Let's also recognize that not everyone with a disability is going to work, and that should never determine our worth and the type of benefits we receive. Some people with disabilities need 24/7 care, and they deserve better than the status quo. To end, I'd like to share a poem that I wrote. The ADA laid the foundation, but we are the builders. I believe in dream teams and people who stay, who fight for tomorrow while honoring today. I believe in systems that learn how to bend, that start with the person and not just the end. I believe in voices that once went unheard, rising powerfully with every word. I've known what it's like to feel small in the fight, but I've also experienced courage that came from the night. The ADA sparked it, a fire, a flame, a promise that power would never be the same. So let's keep building, not just repair. Let's dream up a world that's just and that's fair, where needs aren't a burden and love isn't rare, where we rise because we dare to care. We belong. We have always belonged. And together, we are writing a brand new song. I want to end by saying hello to my friends and my family in Kansas and the DD Network. I want to sincerely thank Secretary Kennedy, Acting Administrator Lazare, Ms. Stannard, and Mr. Kinnemore, Acting Commissioner Johnson, for your hard work and the invitation to be here today. Thank you all so much.
Well, we promised you some gifts. I think that they certainly were delivered. Wouldn't you agree? Jordan, thank you. Alexis, can Alexis hear us? We want to thank Alexis and congratulate her on her journey. Hindley, you hidden gem at ACL, what a great speech you gave to us today. Thank you so much. And Wit, your wit is amazing, and we love your poem. Thank you so much. We're going to put that up. Thank you. So I know I gave you one commercial. I'm going to give you one more commercial. This is my great honor and opportunity to recognize my colleague from the National Council on Disabilities. Anna Torres Davis is the new Executive Director of the National Council on Disabilities, and we just want to celebrate that, Anna. So now I have the honor of introducing somebody who has something in common with me. I bet you didn't know. So Secretary Kennedy and I both come from families of 11 children. My mother didn't think it was so funny. We both have fathers named Robert. Both of our fathers named their son Robert. Both of those sons named their sons Robert. And that's about all the things in common I have with the secretary. This is truly a person with vision and determination and a passion for this country and to make this country healthy again. And when I heard it before from someone, I can't remember who just said this a minute ago, but to make every American healthy again. And so on that note, I would like to introduce Secretary Robert F. Kennedy and let him share more about his vision of making America healthy again. Oh, we need 4 minutes. He's not here yet. Oh, you might get another commercial. Well, that's just great. So here it is. I'm always ready with another commercial. Sharing ACL's major focus. We have lots of initiatives. We have a lot of grantees who are here who are doing phenomenal work. And you heard from each of our speakers how important that work is and what it's doing to make changes in people's lives. So very important. It's why we're here. But in order to do that, what you also heard, I think, from every story was how important the support services support people, families, caregiver, direct support people, direct care workers, how important that is to breaking down the barriers and providing opportunities for these individuals to seize. And so with ACL, we are looking through this at one lens, both aging and disability. And let me reverse that. And disability and aging, because we know that our disability population is living longer, thank God, and better, healthier lives. And so what we need is to continue to provide those supports. We already know we're about 1 million people shy of the supports that we need for both aging and disability population. So we are asking our fellow stakeholders, organizations, leaders, help us this year to come together and address with even greater determination and move the needle a little further in how we provide, how we support, number one, those who are providing caregiving services. Number two, how do we foster and continue to support those who are already doing that as direct service providers? And how do we create an awareness and a motivation to become a direct service provider, a direct care worker, so that people can realize these tremendous opportunities that you heard today? So what we need are some of those barrier breakers, change makers, and people who will help others find their true potential and opportunity. So that's part of my commercial. I have another one. Recognizing, you saw a lot of pictures up here today. This is a great picture. I didn't know that one was there. But you saw a lot of pictures where we were showing different slides, and many of those pictures were leaders who brought about the change and brought about the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we would like to recognize them. So I want to call your attention to ACL's website. Please go to that website and find that history, the rich history about those who brought about the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a really good read. But I also want to recognize, taking that commercial, that recognition of, and I have to read this with fine print, but I do want to call out, I mentioned to you we have these great exhibitors here. Go Vobo is here, and this, I went and spent some time talking to this gentleman. You have to hear about the app, is that correct? Is it an app? The application to use for people including people who are deaf, hard of hearing, use sign language, etc., is how the app includes them in online meetings where they have not had that opportunity to be seen and to hear and be heard. So I thank you for that opportunity. But also we have two from the University of Pittsburgh and North Carolina State, as well the ADA Network is here to represent the network, and there she is waving away. And the Virginia Assistive Technology Program is here as well. Did I forget anybody? And University of Pittsburgh. Thank you. Did I miss something? And Gallaudet. Yes, I spoke to Gallaudet as well. Thank you very much, Christy. Everybody has to fill in for me, you know, now and then. So anyway, are we close? Do we need another minute?
Yeah, sorry. There's just one meeting that's finishing. He's coming down.
Say it, I'm sorry?
There's just one meeting that was finishing.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to listen to me another minute. Bear with us, folks. You're going to have to listen to me one more minute. Okay, so besides that which we talked about as the caregiver, caregiving, direct support person, the other key issue we're looking at is employment for people with disabilities. There are millions of people with disabilities who want jobs, who need jobs, and as you heard, Whit, you described it very well today. They want to be off benefits and supports, but they need that benefit and support of a job before they can even get off benefits. So what we want to do is help awaken the awareness of the capability, the skills, and the opportunities for companies to hire and bring on people with disabilities. Their expertise, as we know, Hindley, you're a phenomenal example of the tremendous asset that you are to ACL. And there are so many companies as well. You're sitting there, there's Sarah nodding her head going, yes, WIT is a great asset to us. Jordan is not only employed, she's chair of organizations and contributing beyond compare. So we have tremendous opportunity and potential to tap. And all these companies with help wanted signs, you may not be looking in the right place. So hey folks, together, we need to raise that voice about finding employment opportunities and making connections for companies to recognize the importance of opening their eyes and bringing people with disabilities to their ranks. So let's work on that as well together. But again, I'm going to go back to that caregiver. We want to build, that sign behind you is there for a really big purpose, because we want to build a better future together. And those of you online, you are part of that building together audience as well. And we thank you for being online today as well. So please, let's come together. We want to meet with you. We want to meet one-on-one. We want to meet in large groups. We want to hear your ideas. We want to get your support. We want to build a bigger, bolder voice of doing the three things that I had just mentioned to you about rallying around caregivers, caregiving, and direct support personnel. On that note, I just got the high sign. I think that person is here. So it is my great pleasure to welcome the Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here today. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. This is a great pleasure for me to be here on the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. My uncle, Ted Kennedy, was the primary author of the ADL, or the ADA, and he worked for many, many years, for over a decade, on trying to push through this legislation prior to its passage. My cousin Patrick Kennedy worked very hard on it, but the groundwork for their interest in this was laid by President Kennedy during his administration, and then by my aunt Eunice Shriver when she started Special Olympics. She started Special Olympics in Bethesda, Maryland around 1964, and it was originally called Camp Shriver. Her home in Rockville was about 15 minutes from my house in McLean, and I went when I was 8 years old. I worked there every weekend as a hugger and a coach. And then the year that my father was killed in 1968, it changed from Camp Shriver to Special Olympics. My father, in 1966 or 65, went to Willowbrook, and Willowbrook was a state institution on Staten Island. My father showed up unannounced. He had just become U.S. Senator about 6 months before, and he literally kicked down the door at Willowbrook and went in for an unannounced inspection. He found what he later called a snake pit. And there were 20 people, 20 patients in a single room that the health department said could only hold 9. I saw the same scenes when I worked during my high school from about 1968 till 1970. I spent 200 hours in Wassaic Home for the Retarded, which was a facility in upstate New York, and it was absolute bedlam. And this is what, the interest of my family in that issue came because they had direct personal experience. My Aunt Rosemary was born with intellectual disabilities. And at that era, children who had disabilities were not only just stigmatized themselves, but their entire families were stigmatized. And the children were hidden for that reason. They were warehoused, they were marginalized, they were vilified, they were regarded as disposable, and they were institutionalized. And you saw the video, I think, a few minutes ago of Alex, who essentially had to live the legacy of that system of institutionalization. And my grandparents wanted to do something else with Rosemary. They saw that there were certain things that she could not do well, but she was able to participate in sports with her brothers and sisters and in other things. And instead of hiding her, she became a source of pride to them. When my grandfather was the ambassador of the Court of St. James during and just before World War II, he presented his family to the Queen, and he brought Rosemary with him. And during the war, when the rest of the family, the rest of the kids were sent back to the United States for their own safety, he kept Rosemary with him, and she was kind of an aide de camp for him. She later had a surgery that had been trumpeted as a surgery that could restore her, and it turned out to be debilitating for her. But my family kept her close during my entire life. We would see her during the summer times. And my family believed that, nowadays they call it mainstreaming. But my family was the first one to really do that. And they understood that when we exclude people, that it not only affects their dignity, but it affects the dignity of the entire society. And that it is the antithesis of what our country believes in. And the ramps that we see, that we invest in, the other accommodations that we make are there not just for the people who are handicapped. They're there for all of us because they bring us dignity. They bring us a sense of community. They bring us a sense of connection to each other. And they also have allowed people who have disabilities to show their value to society, that they can work, they can contribute, and that they make an invaluable commitment to or contribution to our society. So this is a deep commitment for me personally. It's something that my family, that is part of my family DNA. It's something that was at that time unique to America. We set the standard for the rest of the world. And in my view, we need to continue doing that. And this is a way of celebrating our country as an exemplary nation. Democracy is supposed to celebrate the human soul. And God loves all of us. We all have equal value, no matter what our capacity. We're all given unique capacities, unique character traits, and all of us can make a contribution. And if we deny that capacity to any of our citizens, we deny it to all of us. So I want to commit to you my personal enthusiasm, my personal commitment and promise to do everything that I can to preserve and expand this program. And I want to thank all of you for your commitment to it, because you're committing not just to making better, improving the lives of those who suffer disabilities, but you're improving the value and the character of our country for all Americans. So thank you all very much.
Yeah. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Secretary for being here with us, but also, please don't leave yet, because we're going to take a picture with that sign behind us because of his commitment. We're going to get a picture with everybody in the room together, hoping that we're all in this building a better future together. So we will have the Secretary and his wife and all of you in this picture, and hopefully we do exactly as that theme behind us says. And again, Mr. Secretary, thanks for being here. So let's set up for the picture.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.